Welcome to the March 2015 Houston Clutter Coaching Meetup group. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
I love that on the video when everybody waves at them. Nobody can see you waving back at me. Today we are going to do something slightly different. Normally I stand up here and have a topic that, Ed and I have worked out in advance, and I talk about that and then take questions. But today I thought that we would try a little different and listen to your stories instead. So we gave out surveys for the people that were live and in person here. They're filled out surveys for 3 questions, and I'm going to read the questions to you. And then we're going to use those as a launching pad for a discussion today. So for those of you watching the video, you may want to pause the video and answer the questions yourself or think about them first before we start the discussion. So let me read those questions to you.
Here's one.
There you go. What are your biggest problem areas in the struggle against clutter? And your answer can refer to physical space, a category of stuff, or an aspect of your life, whatever answers the question best for you. What would you have, be, or do differently if you didn't have a clutter problem? It's a good question, right? Mm-hmm. When you're overwhelmed by clutter, what's one trick to help you get started? That's the blank. Thank you so much. I wanted to launch it out to the room today because I think that you guys all have your own versions and stories of what's going wrong in the house. And so I thought we would let you tell those tales and see what happens, right? So what I want to do first is talk about the first question, and I'm going to try to give 20 minutes to each of the questions so we can sort of explore it as a group. And not that you guys ever have trouble being interactive, but please feel free to join the discussion. All right, so I'm just going to read a few of these. What's your biggest problem area? Bags from shopping in my bedroom. Sometimes when I go through the bags, my tastes have changed and I no longer like the item. That's a good one. I will not claim who owns that one. We all know who owns that one.
I'm a regular, what can I say?
Right? This one says, it's a small space in an apartment. No garage or extra rooms to place things, out of sight and out of mind. So it's always a reminder. So that's sort of like, being trapped with your stuff a little bit, right?
It's tough.
Here's the good one. Paper, paper, paper. The biggest problem is paper, paper, paper. How many times have we talked about that in here, right? The biggest problem is focusing on a goal, choosing a top priority. That's good. So that's not it's not the clutter that's the problem, it's the execution, right? The decluttering. My compulsion to buy pretty stuff. That's awesome.
Shop, shop, shop. That sounds like that too.
Shop, 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 right? Yeah, but it's on a different paper, so I know it's not you. Home office, paper and office stuff, pens, paper clips, rubber bands, flat surfaces fill up fast. How many people can agree with that one, right? Flat surfaces fill up fast, right? Yeah. Okay. Closets, paper, and too much furniture. Having just moved, I can understand that. This is interesting. Food and kitchen clutter. We'll have to talk about that one a little bit more. And paper again, too. Right? That's a real interesting one. Okay, so a big cross section, some of it about the particular items and some of it about execution, I find interesting. So let's talk a little bit about kitchen was one of the, kitchen and food got a response. So who wants to talk to me about kitchen and food? Why is kitchen and food the biggest problem? Claim it. Own it.
It wasn't my answer, but
Okay.
a little bit of that problem too, because my cooking aspirations are larger than the food storage and preparation space.
Which is a long way of saying his kitchen is too small, right? That's true. And you like to cook, and you like to cook, big quantities, and that really gets in the way, right?
Or having
Go ahead.
or just having all the spices and everything you need for that one meal that you may make in 5 years. You know? I mean, it's.
So are you saying that you have all the spices and you save them because you might make something 5 years from now?
That's correct. You have them there. You know, you use them once, and you certainly reuse them again. You know.
Right.
But I can attest that all your spices are beautifully organized away and out of sight. Just saying.
It doesn't always pay to bring your friends to the meetup, right?
But I just have too much food. I mean, you know, why do I think I have to feed the Russian army?
Well,
I have
right.
2 refrigerators. The one in the garage is a side by side too. And
So talk about that.
And that's not
What is it about? There's you and
I know.
nobody else.
Right.
And so what is your buying pattern that makes so much food show up?
You buy stuff on sale
Costco?
and keep it.
No,
not
I do Costco.
Costco.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Ah.
Yeah, but on Costco I only do the quinoa salad, you know, because
They only have a certain amount of stuff. Like it's
that's
not like a
edible,
full
but
stock
that's
kitchen,
not all
right?
pre-made, you know, I mean, I love their pre-made stuff,
Right.
but, you know.
Does anybody else have a problem with that? Like buying more food than you can possibly? Yeah. Okay. So what about you? And then you.
I find myself shopping food, kitchen things similar in other areas. I'll buy something that I like, and then that goes to the forefront, but I don't make room to get rid of the older things. So, like in my pantry, I don't even know what's all in there. It's hard to kind of see some of the stuff.
You just keep putting things in the front and
I
pushing,
keep getting newer
right?
stuff, you know, and there's just more and more and more and more, and it seems kind of overwhelming.
And do you find that you buy the same things over and over again? Like, you know, most
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
you have your favorites, right? And so you keep buying the same box of mac and cheese over and over and over, right?
Even though you already have it.
Even though you have it in spades, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
coupon shopping.
Oh, coupon shopping. We've had this
Coupon
discussion before,
by
haven't we?
themselves, you ask me. It's an addiction.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're buying more because you're saving money with a coupon, but then you create that storage problem, right? Like I have so much, I need to buy 8 of them so that I can save 80 cents. Or, you know, if you're an excellent couponer, if I buy 10 of them because I'm getting them for free, because the combination of coupons makes it be free, right? Have you seen the shows where they do the stock, the grocery stock in their house, and they surrender a room?
That's crazy.
And what you see, that to me is just like they're collecting food instead of beads or tchotchkes or clothes, right? That's just their version of collecting. It's the pursuit of buying. They're searching the deals out. They're doing the same thing that I would do with beads. They're just doing it with food.
My church food manager loves me.
See, now that's shopping the coupons for the benefit of others. But do you store it in your house or theirs?
No,
You store it in their
give a bag.
kitchen?
We give a couple
Very
bags.
good. Awesome. Yes, ma'am.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh my God, what was I
I'll come back to you. What I find interesting about the food is that
Tell me.
it's one of those things that you can justify buying because everybody has to eat, right? Like it's not like you're buying another mink coat or you're spending too much money on it. Food is considered a necessity, and so it's easier to convince yourself that it's okay to spend the money, and you can spend $100 instead of $2,000 on whatever. You're not taking an extra vacation, you're going to the grocery store again. And so it seems like normal. But I do need to say that in the hoarding house that I was working in, there was a trail of bags that came from the grocery store that still had groceries in them that started at the front door and went back towards the kitchen. And eventually, she could not. Clearly, she just backed herself out of the kitchen. Like she couldn't get to the kitchen anymore,
That
and
makes
so
me
then it was
feel
in the
better.
dining room, and then it was on the on the couch, and on the we dug through a lot of food that had died in place, still in the grocery bag, because we kept finding loaves of bread.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, it was they had mice. The apartment was full of mice.
No cats. Oh my God.
Yeah, no cats on the inside, right? But we kept finding loaves of bread that had never been opened, and so they had mildewed and died in the plastic bag.
Oh my God.
And and then sort of turns into a rock, you know, like dried out into a rock hard something. And of course that's the extreme, right? Like that's where that collection concept has sort of gone off the rails
I
for
think
people.
that's against the health laws.
Oh yeah, but for the average person, buying more food seems like
You need it.
they're like you. Everybody eats. You're gonna want it. It's your favorite thing. Oh look, it's on sale. That's, you know, you churn food out of the kitchen a little bit more than you do the clothes out of your closet, right? So it seems a little bit more easy to sell to yourself that it's okay to buy some more. Yes, did you figure it out?
Yes.
Okay.
I have found, I clip coupons and it's ridiculous because I leave them. Now I leave them in a little box or something. And I hardly use them. And just the other day, I realized I have a little holder for them, but I don't normally do that every week. But the thing that I really wanted to say was, you clip things out and you end up buying something, maybe new, because you have a coupon.
Or it's gonna expire.
Yeah, so it's like not always good.
It's
that
really
way.
neat.
It's not always stuff that you need.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times
Or yeah.
things that are really bad for you.
Right? Right.
The most processed.
Right, they don't have coupons for fresh fruits and vegetables.
Sure.
Have you
That's
noticed
true.
that? Like,
Have you
you know, it's, yeah, right, exactly.
No, it's always for some specific brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the lesson that I take out of listening to you guys talk about that is it's an easy way to entertain yourself. Like you keep going to the store and it's okay, but then it's backing up on you. Is that a real statement? Am I saying the truth? So like stuff in the pantry, stuff in the fridge, it all starts to explode after a while because you've shoved more in. It's a microcosm of, you know, the new stuff goes in, but the old stuff never comes out, right? Yes, sir.
Well, I was going to say, I think also it's just sort of the accumulated product of a series of small failures of planning. You know,
That's a nice way to put it.
you think, we shouldn't eat out so much, so we should cook at home. We should cook at home more. We'd save money. We go to the grocery store. We buy a bunch of stuff because we don't have a specific plan about exactly what we're going to cook, or we have a partial plan. We're going to do this, this, and this. So we get the ingredients for those, plus a whole bunch of other stuff because we're kind of now we're at the grocery store in the stocking up mode. And then you end up with a bunch of stuff and you gotta stick it somewhere and things get buried behind other things and
then
the onions start to grow. And
And then you get home with those good intentions and someone calls and says, let's go out to dinner or to the movies, and you eat popcorn or you go to dinner and then
or you
you're back
come
in the
home and
store.
you're so tired by the time you put away all the groceries, it's like, let's order a pizza.
Yeah.
So this is the kitchen / grocery store version of the shopping's the fun part,
Yes.
and getting it home is where the work starts,
Yeah.
right? And so you bring it home and you put all the groceries up and then you're like, thank God. So just like any other time that I've talked about shopping and putting away, A, putting away is part of the drill, and B, having enough energy to do that part. Like don't burn yourself out on the shopping trip, right? Come home before you're out of steam so that you can then put your things away. You can churn a few things while you're putting new stuff in. You can go, oh, those are old, and you can take a few out and throw some things away. Recognize that the maintenance mode of anything requires things coming out as well as going in, right? So it isn't just that you're going to keep putting it in forever. You want to learn to then circle out, have things coming out every time. And that's how you keep it at the same rate. You know, if you put in new and you take out an equal amount, it stays at the same level of packedness, I guess is the way I'm saying it. Yes?
I have found that if I check the expiration dates, then I know, then I get rid of the cans or try not to buy things that are going to expire. But, that means if you look at them and you take them all out, then you
It gives you a criteria, it does. It does. And you know, the expiration dates is a whole nother conversation, but it is a way to, the clothes don't have expiration dates on them, but the food does. So it gives you a way to feel okay about taking some of the food and letting it disappear, right? Okay, thank you for talking about that one. I also want to talk about paper. Paper showed up on everybody's list. So tell me about paper. There's lots of you that said paper, paper, paper. Right? So how is paper getting in your way?
Nail.
I wish you could see the faces right now. They're looking back at me. They're just like, ugh. Everybody looks crushed as they talk about paper. Yes, ma'am.
When something comes in, sometimes not knowing where to put it, maybe there's some sort of action that needs to be taken on your part, and so it kind of sits around. You know,
Right? It floats
until
in the
you
house.
act on it, for me.
Yeah. Does anybody else agree with that? Yeah, we're getting yeses in here. Yes, ma'am.
To piggyback, and something I learned from you was for the mail, you know, pick it up and then go through it briefly right there. And I stand right next to my recycling and I throw out as much as I can, and that has helped. For me, the paper though, the paper comment is, I have all these ideas. Oh, I'm going to do a budget, or I'm going to keep track of, you know, this and that and blah, you know, everything. Or I'm going to need these notes to refer to on a job hunt, which was from, you know, 2010 or 2012. And, you know, it piles up into job search pile, you know, budget pile, finance, you know, everything has a perfect pile. But, you know, yours
Photographs that need to go in albums.
hundreds of photographs by years and not executed. So
Right.
Wow, at least they're
And-
organized, sounds like they're organized.
And what they're implying here is, this is the hidden agenda of paper. All paper represents some kind of action that has already taken place or needs to take place. So you get a bill, and there's an action associated with the bill. You got to pay the bill. Once you've paid the bill, then you need to save that as support for the taxes, right? When you get a calendar and somebody's inviting you to an event, then the piece of paper is, I'm going to an event and I need to keep up with this date so that I don't miss the party, right? All of the paper in the house usually has an action associated with it, and we manage the paper, but we don't manage the to-dos very well. They all have an implied to-do behind them at some level. And one of the to-dos may be trash it, recycle it, shred it. I get it. There's a big backup about shredding. Read it. That's a
And
big
make
one
a
for you.
decision on it.
Make a decision, right. So all of those things are implying to-dos that we have this paper in our head and we think, I need to keep this. But the unspoken sentence is, because I need to do something about it. And you don't plan to do the to-do, right? So having that missing mechanism to capture and manage to-dos is part of why the paper stays around the house, because it becomes a de facto to-do list that's floating around your house in a sea of paper, right? And then of course it becomes huge and you lose the to-dos in amongst all the really great, you know, trash that's floating around the house, right? So I think the main issue with paper is we don't realize that all those papers then imply some kind of, the reason you want to keep the paper is because there's something you need to do about it. And the second thing I'll say about that too is we also have things that we think we should do, right? I think I should do a budget, right? I think that I need to go, you know, research the termite treatment for the house. Whatever. I think I should read up on, you know, the financial crisis, right? And you feel like you should be doing something. And then you save all these papers against these things that you tell yourself you should be doing. And my advice is always to be more honest with yourself about what you actually want to do and are willing to do. Like if you should balance your checkbook because your dad always told you that you should balance your checkbook, but you hate balancing your checkbook and you have no intention of ever balancing your checkbook, then why save all the stuff to help you do it? Part of how you can let some of the paper in your life go is recognizing that you have some guilty voice telling you you shouldn't be doing something, and you're saving things against that, and you really have no intention of ever doing that ever. It's never going to come to the top of your list. It's never going to seem like fun. It's never going to impact your life, and there's no reason for you to save stuff that you have no intention of actually doing. And this is always a surprise to people. The one story that I tell about this is I was going through an old file cabinet with someone, and they had 5 years of electric bills. They had saved all electric bills. Well, can we throw these out? These are 5 years old. No. I'm going to make a spreadsheet. Okay, what's the spreadsheet for? I'm going to, fill in all the numbers, and so I can compare the electricity for the 5 years to see whether I got a good rate or not. Okay, so after you have that piece of data, how is that going to help you? Well, so then I'll know whether I got a good deal or not. So you're going to make a spreadsheet to decide whether you got a good deal or not, so that you can be mad at yourself if it was a bad deal and you can't do anything about it. Right? So I had to talk to her for 30 minutes about this. Like, the result of your poll, the result of your spreadsheet is nothing that you can do anything about. You cannot go back and retroactively fix the rate that you got. So why are you trying to make a spreadsheet to beat yourself over the head about it? Like, how is that going to help you? And 40 minutes later, she was letting me throw it out, but we had to talk because in her mind, the responsible thing to do was to make a spreadsheet and to look at the rates to see if she'd done a good job. Yeah, it's not going to help you at all. So this is sort of an extreme example of you prepare to do things that really don't get you anything in the end that's useful because you think you should, right?
Well, this is a subject of why we clutter. That's the whole thing. I mean, why do you save it? You said it's not. We're not thinking logically, obviously.
Right. Well, right. Exactly.
Well, it's waste not, want not when you're top.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I might need it.
Yeah, that's even.
The universal cry of clutter saving, right?
And
I
then
might need
can't
it
find
someday, and then you can't
Yeah.
find it. Yes, ma'am.
Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without.
Say that again.
That sounds like it came from your mom. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or go without. There you go. That sounds like somebody's really thrifty
Say it
mom.
again. Can you please say it again?
Use it up,
Uh-huh.
wear it out, make it do or do without.
There you go.
It's from the Great Depression.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
I would say or throw it out instead of or do without.
Well, and the problem with that is we have way more. We can't use it all up. We can't possibly use it all up. We have so much more than we could ever use up in our lifetime, most of the time, right? So what worked in the Great Depression when there was so much less to work with, you could never use it up or wear it out because we bought 500 of them, or we can replace them around the corner in the whim, and then you have a new one.
Well, or in the case of paper and
Yes.
the information that it represents, it's an endless stream. It's a hurricane.
A fire hose.
Yeah.
Yeah, a paper, absolutely. And so I guess that, part of everybody comes to the paper table going, oh God, I have all this paper. And you sort it and try to file it all, but you don't capture the things to do, and you don't then decide that the thing that you think you're supposed to do, you're really not going to do. So you can cull. Like, I don't want you to get better at managing all and keeping all the paper. That is not the goal. I want you to manage the stuff that you actually need to have and let go of the stuff that you don't. That's the real goal. Because, if I was going to just pull a number out of my head, I would say 80% of what goes in front of you can go out, ultimately. And you keep a much smaller piece, right? Okay, so that was the paper one. Thank you for sharing.
Can I say something about paper now? You can do so much online, though.
Yeah.
You can pay your bills, you can keep your financial records,
Lot of
medical
electronic
records, so
records.
that
Absolutely.
helps
What
I
time
think
is
I
it?
get a lot less than I used to.
Oh, it's time. Okay, so okay. All right, so we're gonna go to the next question. We spent my 20 minutes on here. What would you have, be, or do differently if you didn't have a clutter problem? This is a good one. Lower weight, less fast food, enjoy cooking. That's a good one. Be proud of your home, feeling of contentment and peace. I like that one.
Yeah, that's
What's
true.
that?
You don't know what it is.
Be able to tackle other problems or have more leisure time to volunteer, spend more time doing what I like, spend it with friends. Right? That's the first thing you sacrifice is time with your friends when you feel like your house is a mess. I would allow visitors in my house, my family and church friends.
Wow.
Making a higher freelance income. There you go. Right? You have more time to work. Maybe not worry, shorten my nuts. Nagging unfinished tasks. I love it, that's good. And have peace of mind. Nagging unfinished tasks, that's wonderful. I would buy a dining table and chairs and have people over more often. You see the theme here? I would feel less burdens. Bags of clutter have been a problem with male relationships. So it's another one. I would be able to interact with people better, right? That's awesome. No stress. That's the short version. No stress, right? Do you guys ever stop? I mean, so I did that because I wanted you to envision what you would have if it was better. Do you ever stop and think about that? Do you ever get that far? Can you talk about it a little bit? What would you like it to be? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh. Well, I know it was a problem with my husband, and then he passed away, and then I was in another long-term relationship, and it was a problem in that relationship. And so the two most intimate relationships I've had was a problem with both of them.
And it interfered with.
It's like in all other aspects of my life, I was functional, but that was an issue, and then it was a problem in the relationship.
Yeah, like it got to a point where it interfered with your ability to relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, who wants that?
Or do you mean that your husband or whoever was mad at you constantly?
It was a source of dissatisfaction for them, and then it
Right.
affected the relationship.
Yeah. What about you?
My husband mad at me all the time too for the clutter and having to live with, all those little spaces filled up with clutter.
Right.
Papers and, to the point of, he's gonna make a drastic change if I don't.
Wow, threatening.
But it does represent, like this is the extreme version, when the couple breaks down to such a
22
point,
years.
22 years later, right? That for one person it's so stressful that it is really making their environment toxic. Like they can't exist in that space comfortably. And at some point, they want to sort of surrender they want to claim their life back,
Exactly.
right? And that means that, you are at loggerheads with somebody that you care about, and that's, nobody wants to live that way. And you don't want to come home and have that be the main talking point in your relationship, right? Not, honey, how was your day, but why is this stuff here? You don't want that to be the lead when you come home. Yeah, it costs a lot. And how you see that on the back end is people don't let their grandkids go see the grandparents, and you don't let your friends come over, and your social life starts to deteriorate, and coming to the meetup group becomes a big effort to come out and interact with us. Thank you, by the way. I appreciate that you make that effort, but it is having it not impact your relationships, having your relationships be happier is a great outcome that I would wish for you. And it makes me, it's hard that it gets in the way for people. That's it. The other one the other one that we see here is I have friends over. I would feel less stressed. I'd feel more peaceful. Isn't that a wonderful thing? We don't think about how loud the chatter is of the clutter. Like when you come in the house and the nuts list, nagging, unfinished, whatever. task, nagging unfinished tasks, that's awesome. But the nagging part is true, and it's in your own head. You're the one that's going "Rah, rah, 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 rah," when you come in the house, right? Now there may be people in the house that are participating verbally, but you know you have your own internal nag that is going, why is this a mess? Why I need to clean this up? How come yada yada yada. So you're barking at yourself. The clutter is barking at you in your own head as much as the people around you are also barking. So even a person that is living alone is still listening to that "rah, rah, 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 rah" every day, right? Who wants to live with that? That alone, I mean, I think that we sort of become immune to the noises in our environment, and you get used to listening to yourself complain or moan or whatever. And we sort of get used to it like it's normal. And then when I clear up somebody's space and it's all clean and peaceful, they always go, oh, it's so calm in here. It's so, they like remember that it could be peaceful like that. Did you guys experience that upstairs in the room? In Joan's room?
Yes.
Can I tell about that a little bit?
Yeah.
So she has a daughter who is now graduating from college. But when I first went over to the house, it was a teenager's room that looked like a bomb had gone off in it. It was just like, and she was active, busy, had a lot going on. She was a girl with a mission, and she was out running around having a good time. And her room was a disaster, complete disaster. So much so that Anne sort of surrendered the rooms. Like, okay, that's upstairs, la la la, I'm
That's
not going up there, right? Like at some point parents surrender, right? And so, but now she's graduated from college and she's on her life and she lives somewhere else, and they went and recently cleaned out the room, and they cleaned it out and they put twin beds in the room, and now they have all these guests coming. Like suddenly the room is free, and so then everybody's going, hey, we're coming to visit. You know, she
I have a place to put you.
right? She has a guest house running now because all her friends are coming to stay. And it isn't that you didn't clean it with the idea that suddenly you were going to call people and tell them to come, but somehow they made the space.
But the first
And the
set
people
of guests,
came.
the first set of guests were, that was the driving force to
Mm.
really get after it. And we had enough time that we could, you know, it wasn't like 2
Good-
days to get ready.
good
Right,
Couple
right,
of
right.
weekends, and it's like, we gotta, you know, gotta have a place for them to stay.
And it worked. And now you have more guests. And how much fun is that, right? Like that was a perfect result of reset, 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 and now I get to have family and friends
it's
and
also
come
that
to be.
it was sad for me to go in her room and it was still, you know, she was still there, but she had moved, you know.
Right.
So now that it's not her room anymore.
Oh.
Right? You
Now it's
reclaimed
just-
it,
And it's actually, I feel better.
right? It's not hard for you as a
Right.
mom anymore.
I feel better about it.
Well, that's good. That's awesome. And that to me is, she got the benefit of clearing out the one room, and now you know everybody's coming to visit, and you're having fun, and I can't wait to see your friends, and you know it's awesome. That's a great thing. We accept the norm, we accept how it is because it seems overwhelming, but there's so much payout that you can get on the other end if you just let it happen. It's always so much work and it's such a pain, but it's so much of a blessing on the other end. You get so much out of it if you can just hang in there long enough, right? That's awesome. Has anybody else had a little success of clearing out space and getting a bonus? Yes, please tell.
Good.
Do tell.
I had an insurance man come over last night and we cleared off the dining room table completely.
Woo!
And that's been after
That's
years,
good.
literally.
That's
So-
awesome. How does it feel? Did you just like
Amazing.
lay on the table and run your hands over it? Sometimes I would be like,
Put it in box- I put it
When
something
did-
box.
right? You cleaned it off. Awesome.
No, it was completely bare.
Yay! That's awesome. I know that is
Can I
a
ask you
big
a question?
deal.
Did you just put it like I do in
Bags.
boxes or bags? If you don't have one of
Yeah, I had about an hour or two to do it, and it wasn't.
But you know, even that gives you a reference point, right? Even if you can't make it all go away, if you can clear a space, it's like this place to look at to go, oh, it could be like, this is what clear looks like.
Yeah, how many of you go crazy when you have to wrap a present because there is no flat space in the entire house to do it?
I'll do it on the bed.
Right.
That's
Yes,
pretty
ma'am.
hard.
You said you do it on
Same
the
thing,
bed.
clean
What'd
off
she say?
dining
She
table.
did it on her bed, but it's
Yeah,
hard
but
when
now
there's
they're
no.
Right.
years now.
Forever.
Yeah, now I'm trying.
And
to
how does it
figure
feel?
It's not totally, but I've got it down to 9 cups of pens.
9 cups of pens. That's a
Oh,
lot
that
of
sounds
pens.
like me. I don't know where they came from, but they're in my house.
Right? That's
Or
awesome.
plastic bags. It's
You
like,
need them.
no, I don't know how they go.
Yeah,
there.
no,
I'm not kidding.
we're not going to talk about whether you need all those pens or not. That's a whole nother discussion.
When
But what I
cleaned
like
out my
is that
mother's
you guys
house,
made it clear, and it's a clear, it's a place to look.
I got a plastic bag fetish from my mother when we cleaned or moved to her apartment. I remember, but she would stand at this end and I would stand at the other end of the hall. And we could not. It was all plastic bags. We couldn't see each other.
Oh my gosh.
You what?
That's crazy. From cleaning out your mom's house, that's a lot of plastic bags.
No, we were both doing it. It was
Oh
an
my
apartment
gosh.
and
Yeah.
could not see each other.
Oh, that's crazy.
And she wasn't that much of a packer. She was a neat packer.
Yeah.
And then
Yes, ma'am.
You made a very good point there for me because
What's that?
I've actually cleaned out a whole file drawer.
Ah.
I moved the whole filing cabinet actually in next to my bed because, it's a nice wood filing cabinet.
Right.
I know I need more space next to my bed so I can have that stack of to be reds next to the bed. I'm not giving up the stack of to be reds, but
Okay.
but
you're
now
gonna
I
go to
have
bed with
but
it.
now I have a bigger table and I can have 6 pair of glasses there and everything. But what I haven't done is have that space. The piles are still out, like on the dining room table. But what I have to do is, and I'm gonna do that tomorrow, go home and get that stuff away so it looks clear. That whole empty file drawer I have now. I can take all that other stuff and either throw it out
Or file it.
file it away.
Yeah.
So
I think people don't realize psychologically a little square foot, 2 square foot piece of floor in a house where the whole floor is covered is like, it's like you can breathe all of a sudden.
It's not your house anymore.
Right.
I mean,
If you
Change it.
aim for that level of clear and peace, and you need an example, that's a great way to do it. Go clear off a table, go clear off the couch, go clear off a piece of floor, clear off the bottom of the closet. And then, when you need inspiration, you can go stare at the clear floor and go, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking, that's what I'm aiming for, that's what I'm trying to get to, right? We forget that it could be anything other than the chaos in which we're living. And we forget to aim for something more beautiful and more peaceful and more wonderful and rewarding to you. So it's my job to remind you, you want something better, right? What's our time?
1:45. We should probably go to the.
Okay, so let's go to the last one. This is the advice comp question. When you're overwhelmed by clutter, what's one trick that helps you get started? Doing a little bit at a time. Oh, this is good. Being out of town and away from my place helps me get a new perspective when I come home. I start taking small steps, one pile or box at a time, but then momentum slows or stalls. But that's great. It's like you're away from it long enough that when you come and look at it, it looks fresh. It looks new and tackleable. Is that a real word? I ask myself, where is its home? My biggest struggle is to get rid of it. I'm emotionally attached. Yeah, we all are, right? But asking where is its home is the first question. Like, where does this need to be helpful? One trick that helps you get started, take the first thing within reach. That's awesome. Like, I'm not moving, I'm grabbing that right there. That's perfect. That's perfect. Take small sections at a time, break it down into small jobs. This is a theme. Clutter is delayed decision. Tell myself if I tackle the clutter, I can reward myself with something like window shopping at the Container Store. Eat a treat, that would be mine. Eat a treat, watch a movie, read, surf the net, shop at the dollar store. Well, let's take shop at the dollar store off. But
Wow.
that's the, it's like, That's a motivation speech, right?
That's fine.
If I spend some time in the clutter, then I'm gonna reward myself by going to
Get
watch a
more.
movie, read a book, sit down, and you know, that's a great thing to do. Set the timer. You got 20 minutes, do 30 minutes, do 20 minutes, do an hour, and then go, you know, read a book for 30 minutes.
Well, and just to the dollar store comment, I mean, think about it. If you walk out of there and your bill's $32, you know you're bringing 32 things into your house.
Yeah.
And
Oh
to
my
me, that's like a burden.
That's
And I love
Nice.
the dollar store. Then
But,
you're
oh,
supposed
no,
to get rid
right?
of 32 things.
Grr. Do one small thing so I can finish it without getting overwhelmed. So that's the other thing too. It's like if you staying small reins in being overwhelmed and preventing you from shutting down, right? I know who wrote this one. Invite people over. That's another motivation advice, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, when the bead girls are coming to spend the day at my house for beading, there's a lot of cleaning going on that doesn't go on until, you know, all the girls are coming over. Start small. So this is the general theme of those comments, but I really like the motivation pieces elsewhere too. The idea that you just need a little juice to get going. What else motivates you?
I was just gonna say what helped me. I have a good friend that really lives on very little, and she just said, I'd like to help you. And we were talking about paper. I keep my invitations in a whatever folder,
Right?
and I write down the date in my date book. Anyway, she's helping me, and I'm going to be helping her. If you work with somebody,
Yes.
kind of like a person in your closet, you just want to let go, but it's objective to her.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, for me, it's like working with a buddy. You know, you're going to go walk with somebody.
all the
You're not
difference.
going to, you know, most times you won't, you know,
Walk by
not
yourself.
go. Yeah, you'll do it because you're doing it together, and you're not going to call her up and say, well, I don't feel like it most of the time.
Working with a buddy is a great tip.
And I'm going to help her with her clothes. She said she can barely get
And
into her
probably-
bed.
You'll probably be great. You're great with somebody else.
Yeah, you're great. Yeah,
You're great with somebody else's
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And a lot of times people, you know, when I'm working with them in a client appointment, it's exactly that thing. They're paying me to be there because they need a companion and a coach, right? It isn't because they don't know what they're supposed to do. It's that they can't make themselves do it by themselves.
Yeah, that's
Why is
Because
that?
it's too boring, because it's not any fun, because
I'd
they're
rather be
easily
doing something
distracted, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm there, then you're committed to my being there and it's costing you money. So even if you don't want to do it anymore, you still do it, right? And then at the end of 3 hours, instead of just having 3 hours of work done, you've actually had 6 man hours of work done because there's 2 of you, right? So you sort of double the amount of work that gets done in the same window of time because there's 2 of you working on the project. And it's more fun that way. You know, you laugh more and you make jokes, and it's, you know, it's not such a chore if you have a partner. That's a great thing to do. And people, you know, they trade,
Yeah, that's what.
right? So I'm going to say hi to Denise in France because one of the things that Denise has said is that she has some friends there, and they get together and meet and talk about it. And then she has had some offers of people to trade with her. And so it's a real, it's a great motivating thing to have a partner.
We're going to come visit our satellite meetup in France.
Did you hear that? We're coming!
It's a field trip.
Right, we're taking a field trip to
I can
France,
speak
right?
French, so I
Oh,
have a great
awesome.
time.
She's gonna have to clear the dining room table.
Yep, she's gonna clear the dining room table. Well, there you go.
Can I just add something?
yes.
When I think about all the time I spend, you know, moving the clutter or trying to figure it out, or running around the house, where is it, you know, and just think of all the time.
All the free time you're gonna have. And
Yeah.
and this is exactly the point about you get invested in having, I don't wanna spend all this time to do the work. But then you actually end up burning that amount of time in trying to find stuff and trying
So
to,
frustrating.
you know, get around, move around. You burn a lot, you piddle it off the same amount of time, whether you're working at it or not.
You ever heard the phrase about sharpening your saw?
Tell me.
Stephen Covey, people who, the metaphor is someone who is trying to saw wood with a dull saw because he can't have time to sharpen it, and of course with a dull saw it takes a lot longer.
Yes, exactly. That's a very good point. Absolutely. In the end, you just have to suck it up, right? It's never going to be a party. It's never going to be, having a dinner with your friends. It's never going to be as much fun as your favorite hobby. It's a chore. It's like doing the laundry and brushing your teeth. It's something you got to do. But the trick is, the more that you put it off, the longer it takes to recover. And what I find is I work with people is we dig out for a long time, and then if it starts to build back up, they call me much sooner because they don't want to spend that much time digging it out, right? So they sort of maintain more frequently and more frequently and more frequently as time goes by because they don't want it to turn into chaos. And ultimately, that's the routine. You have to go from doing nothing and being stuck to digging it out and then doing the maintenance forever.
I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of times you clean something up and it's a couple of weeks
Yeah.
later, it's the same darn thing.
Ultimately, you don't want to, you got to keep doing the
I
maintenance.
don't know, I said two.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
said 2
The one
weeks.
thing I stopped doing is getting the magazines,
Ah,
because being over 65, man, I'm telling you, they'll give you every magazine in the world for $5.
oh, really? And what more year?
Senior discount, right?
Oh,
I didn't
God,
know
the
that.
Architectural Digest. I mean, all these wonderful magazines that I've always loved, but now they're so cheap because they want you, Condé Nast, every
Right.
travel magazine. So now I'm saying that's gonna be another thing comes into my house and I don't need it. If I'm gonna go to France, I'll get on the computer and I'll,
Exactly.
and I'll,
I
look
find
it
I
up.
can turn them all out.
But that's okay. You're turning off the flow at the source,
I'm trying,
right?
yes, right.
And that's an important way to reduce it. Yes,
My
ma'am.
friend finally convinced me to quit taking the newspaper.
Woohoo.
They just piled up.
Yeah.
You never read, you could read it
Right.
online, and that was one of the best decisions.
You could read
'Cause
it
that's a-
online too, I think.
That's a huge volume of
It
paper.
is. I'll tell you, one of the two things that helped me when I do something is to write down a schedule. 6 o'clock, 6:15, do this, that.
That's a good tip as well.
that
And that's a good
helped
tip for
me.
decluttering because
That got me to school
Write down
on
the
time.
treating it as an appointment,
Yeah.
like going to the dentist and going to get your X-ray. What's the word I'm looking for? Thank you, mammogram.
Don't
You
say
know.
mistake.
Nobody wants to do that, but you still got to make the appointment and go get them smashed, right? So this is also an appointment that you have to schedule with yourself. And if you have a hard time making an appointment on the calendar and treating it like, you're going to meet with the dentist or you're going to, go to the doctor is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Now, you have to do it more than once a year. You're not going to get anywhere.
I have one thing that helps, and where to put something. Where to put it is the place you would look for if you were looking for it.
Yes. Yep.
That's the place to put
You
it.
put it where you would expect it to be when you go looking for it. Is what you're saying.
That
Yeah.
helps. What,
Yes, ma'am.
On the newspapers situation, I would suggest and recommend to, instead of throwing newspapers away, take them to vets or to animal shelters. They
Mhm.
really need
To
them.
donate
That
them.
way you really are recycling those.
If you're not stopping the newspaper, then you can dispose of them that way. That's
Is there anything
awesome.
you can do with old sheets?
Yeah, they can go to the vet too.
Yeah.
Cover
To a vet.
freezing.
That,
Vet, a veterinary office. Take it to the vet. They use them in the care of the animals.
Yeah, they
line
They're in the cages after surgeries. They
Oh,
use them.
really?
Yes. Well, yeah, because they get destroyed.
I've got one.
They're disposable. So if they're if they're dead
In that
for
little
they
shopping
wouldn't
center
go
on
on it.
Hillcroft.
Wherever.
Any
No.
vet
Thank you,
takes-
thank you.
If the sheets are not usable for humans, they're perfectly usable for pets.
And they have their own washing machines at these facilities.
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
They're very grateful to get them.
Yeah.
What else can you take?
Towels.
Well, let's do that after. Let's do that after. Okay.
Thank you.
So
That's a big help.
I appreciate you guys giving all of the great tips here today. That's really awesome. And I guess we need to accumulate them somehow. We'll talk about that. Anyway, thank you for sharing today. I appreciate it. And please come back and visit me again next time. Bye.